Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Tales from the Fandom. Today, I am joined by Farheen, who I happened to stumble across on Instagram, loved her cosplays and loved what she was doing, and had to ask her to come on to this podcast. And I'm so happy to finally have you here sitting down to talk with me about fandom. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's a great night.
Awesome. I am let's see here. We have been having rain here for like a week now, every day. And I'm not over it because I like the rain, but I'm over it because I need to do stuff outside and I just don't want to go out in the rain.
Oh, I think we're getting your rain because it's been cloudy all day today.
Yes, we will send you our rain and our hurricanes.
No, not the hurricane.
Yes, the hurricanes, which I'm shocked that we've already had like three named storms or three named things as of like before the hurricane season even started, which is a wonder of 2020. I think the joke is like we've now reached like level 6 of Jumanji.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. It's been a year.
Yeah, somebody was joking that May was 500 days long, and I was like, yeah, I feel that. I feel that in my bones.
I still feel like it's March. I feel like I went home in March and it's still March, but it's hot outside and storming randomly, and then it's hot again.
Oh yeah, my kids they were complaining when I put them to bed today. They were like, "It's still light out," and I said, "Yes, it is summer, even though it doesn't feel like it because we've been in the house since March."
Yeah, it's the fact that it's summer still. Oh, look, where did the spring go? It was winter 2 minutes ago.
We're all groundhogs in our own Groundhog Day.
Yeah, every day just blurs into the next.
Now, we are here to talk about fandoms, and there is one that I am very excited to learn about because it's one I've only seen a few episodes of the original way back in the day. And I think it's very underrated or even underappreciated, and that is Digimon.
Yes, it is very much an underrated and underappreciated fandom show or game or whatever you did, or however it gets experienced. But I love it. I have loved Digimon since the day I saw the first episode, which was also way back when, 20 years ago now. And it's just been something that's been with me ever since. I watched it on and off growing up when I learned that, oh, I can watch the original Japanese with subs online. I think it was my first year of college. Yeah. I watched the whole show. Well, I should clarify. I rewatched all of the Adventure series, the whole show subbed. And I just fell in love with it all over again because it was the show that I grew up with, but it was also brand new because there were translation differences. Some of the characters' personalities were a little bit different or had been changed because of translation issues or censorship, or not really censorship, but kind of localization. And it was just great to experience it again. And then just when that was kind of like, it faded back into the background as a fandom for me. And then they released the next season called Digimon Try, which was like, oh, it's been so many years now and the kids are back and they're growing up and more stuff is happening. And they released that as a set of movies. And then in that sense, they kind of pulled a Toy Story where it was like Toy Story 1 happened, Toy Story 2 happened, and then 8 years later, Toy Story 3 happens.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of did that with Try. And so obviously I went back and rewatched some stuff and was like, oh, I forgot this happened. And oh, this thing happened. And oh, I never noticed that as a kid or when I was in college, but now I'm an adult. And then I watched Try, and it is one of the few anime that it's one of the few things on TV that has made me cry just by what it is. And then afterwards, well, this year actually, they released a movie which is supposed to be the final show or season for this adventure series, Digimon. But because of COVID, it got canceled, and I haven't seen it, so I'm really sad.
Oh no, that's not cool.
Yeah, but they're talking about re-releasing it. We'll see what happens. But on the plus side, they rebooted the show, and that's on Crunchyroll, and it's actually going to resume after the COVID hiatus this weekend. Yeah, this weekend.
Oh, awesome. Now, when I was oh gosh, when I was in college, I think is when Digimon was coming out because I'm old, or even maybe in high school. I can't really remember like when it came out, but it kind of felt like at the same time like Pokemon was getting big.
Mm-hmm.
And there's definitely the people that went like the Pokemon route and the people that went the Digimon route. What was the draw for you getting into Digimon?
So we had the Pokemon versus Digimon battle at my house where my sister picked Pokemon and I picked Digimon. But we both watched both. We both loved both. It was more of like a face value thing where we fought over which one was better. I was into Pokemon when it first came out. And I think Digimon started airing about a year later. And I don't know, the draw for me was they still had a little bit of the monster of the like a bad guy of the week going on, but I think I liked the cast of characters in Digimon because the one thing that really attracts at least me is that every single character is different, and every single character has a character arc. They have character building. They have their own, even if it's a tiny story, but a story that is theirs. And that's really emphasized because each of them has a crest that belongs to each of the human kids and is associated or and ties them to their Digimon partner. So they each have a personality trait that's theirs, and they have to learn how to actually, well, they're given this crest and they have to learn how it applies to them and what it actually means for them. For example, there's this almost sad arc in the first season where the girl Sora, who has the crest of love, doesn't believe that she deserves it, and so she like runs away and hides from her friends and doesn't want to be with them because she's like, if I'm with them, then I don't actually know how to do this. I don't deserve the crest of love. And then she learns that she does have the capacity to love, and so she's able to get her Digimon to get to the next level. And each of them has a story like that, and I really like that.
That is something where it sounds like it sounds like it's a very I don't want to say heavy, but it sounds like there's definitely some very strong themes that are running through some of these story arcs for them.
Yeah, so I think that's where it mainly differs from Pokemon, where Pokemon is all about Ash and his journey through the different regions and getting a Pokemon and him becoming a Pokemon master. And you get to learn about all the different Pokemon. Like I love Pokemon too. Digimon is more about the relationship of the kids, and it's very campy and cheesy as well. And sometimes the stories resolve like, "Hey, you're doing this wrong." Oh, okay, I've now learned that what I did was wrong. It does have a little bit of that because it is kind of geared towards kids, especially the first two seasons of a Digimon adventure. The third season, Try, is much more emotional. So yeah, it does get heavy. They deal with losing their partners. They talk about like never or potentially losing all their memories, so they won't know that this Digimon, who is like their best friend, almost an extension of their personality in some cases, and they're just going to lose them, and it's really sad. I think that is also what the very last movie is about too, especially because it's called Last Evolution. And from the trailers that I've seen, but I don't actually know what it's about. And I've been really, really trying to avoid spoilers.
With the Digimon, you call them like their partners, and I've seen a few of the very, I think it's like the first couple episodes from the first season. Like what is with these Digimon, like, because they again, just based off of Pokemon, like I know that they're there, and then they evolve into like bigger versions kind of themselves.
Yeah, excuse me. Yes. So it's kind of like Pokemon in that they have to get experience and something has to be happening, and then usually the kid that they're tied to, their emotions are involved, like they're in trouble, the kids are in trouble or something, and then the Digimon can digivolve. One of the differences is that the Digimon, when they digivolve, they can go back after the fight is over. So they have their base level, the rookie level, and then the kids are in trouble. There's a bad guy chasing them. They digivolve to the next level, fight off the bad guy, and then they go back to their base level. It's cool, especially some of their, and each one has multiple forms. So in the beginning, it's just they can level up once. Then the kids learn that each of them has a special crest that will allow them that that has to do with their personality trait, and that'll help their Digimon partner go one more step further. And then they learn that they can go another step further if they're in real big trouble, and they get more experience, and they get a closer bond. Then they can go up to the mega level. So it's, as the show progresses, the Digimon gets stronger, their bond with the kids gets stronger. Each of the kids has just the one partner instead of like in Pokemon where they have one trainer has multiple Pokemon. And in that sense, it's kind of like, with Ash and Pikachu, you see like, they had, their first couple episodes where they didn't get along. And then over time they learned to like each other, and then they, got along, and they were friends for a bit, and then they became, their best friends and family. It's kind of like that with Digimon too. There were a couple of kids who were scared of their Digimon partner, didn't know what was going on because I don't know if you remember, but in the show, the kids are just, sucked out of Earth and
Mm-hmm.
thrown into the Digi world, which is, some people like to call it one of the first major isekais. So some of the kids were like, I don't know what's going on here. What is this creature following me around? It's just saying, I'm your friend, I'm your partner. And then a couple of the kids were gung ho about this. Some of them are like, all right, this is what's happening now. I got this thing. It's my partner. He's my best friend now. Others took time to warm up with their partners and make that bond happen.
What would you say to people that are listening now and they're like, I've never heard of Digimon, but like, maybe it's something that they would like to try out. Like, what would you suggest to them about getting into this show, especially now, because with it having aired originally like 20 plus years ago, it's definitely something, going back to find it.
So I don't think you can find the Japanese version with English subs anywhere legally. So and I think the dubbed version only, Hulu put it out during, and probably because of the pandemic. So it's available there. And I would recommend watching the first season, at least just the first season, just to get a feel for what it is. It's a very, very much one of those 90s anime that was translated kind of ridiculously, like, the joke about rice balls being translated as jelly donuts. That exists in Digimon too. It was in that era. There are some really weird translations or roundabout ways they get around things that make adults think like, what? But as a kid, I was like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's a chocolate covered something or other. But I would recommend watching the first season, even just if it's just to get a feel for the show. The reboot that's airing on Crunchyroll, and the first 3 episodes are out. 4 episodes are out. 3 episodes are out, and they're going to restart the simulcast this week. I really like that. It's a little bit different than the original because back then one of the first things that happened was that there were payphones that the kids used, and we're like, what are these payphones doing for a small segment of an episode? And I don't think anybody today could normally be like, hey, I use a payphone, because we have cell phones now. So the reboot definitely takes care of that, and it's much more modern take. And I think I like where they're going. It's slower paced than the original, but it's modern, and the animation is way better. Um, okay. I said slower paced, but it starts off very fast, and then I think it's going to scale back based on the 3 episodes I've seen. So I would say if you're going to get into Digimon, take a look at the first original, see if you like it there. At least just get a feel for the show. If you like it, just watch the whole thing. It's great. And if not, then pick it up with the reboot because that is also nice. I do know that a lot of people didn't like the ending with the second season because Digimon Adventure aired season 1, season 2, and then had like almost a wacky ending, and then that kind of had like a 10 years later epilogue, and then Try happens that actually is in between season 2 and the epilogue, and they're trying to make what happened in the show tie to the epilogue a little bit. But there's a lot of hate that goes on with the second season and with Try and the ending. I like it all. I don't really have, like, I know it's campy. I know it's kind of cheesy. So, but yeah, I can see a lot of people not appreciating it.
Oh, that's okay. I totally understand because there are shows where I watch them and I know that if I tried to have people watch them now, they would be like, "What are you trying to make me watch? Like, this is strange." And I would be like, "That's my show. Like, can't you just enjoy it with me?"
Yeah. I would agree that for new people, it might not hold up as well. I know a lot of what I appreciate about it is the nostalgia factor.
Hmm.
But I think the themes hold up really well, especially with the kids learning and growing and making friends, and there's a lot of like interaction between the kids too. So like, kids who started off hating each other or butting heads a lot are like best friends by the end. I just really like that.
So on top of Digimon, which I totally feel the nostalgia feels and the nostalgia glasses, where it's like, yeah, that's something where I love it in my head, but then going back and watching it, I'm like, it's questionable, but I'll still roll with it. Like I've done that before with
Yep.
a few shows on
Yep.
Disney Plus, and I'm like, I watched that when I was a middle schooler, and I can't watch it right now, but I still love it. It's still in my heart.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
on top of Digimon, the latest like super fandom that I feel has like hit the video game world is Fire Emblem Three Houses, which I will say personally I've not played any Fire Emblem games besides playing characters in like Super Smash Brothers, like of the various iterations, but I do own Awakening for the 3DS. It's still in its shrink wrap somewhere, and I've never played it. But Three Houses has been incredible to watch people play on Twitch and watch their different playthroughs and learn about all these like enormous cast of characters and then the different houses, and it's something where it took the video game groups by storm, I guess, and then even into the cosplay, because I know a number of people who are working on like Fire Emblem cosplays based off of characters of Three Houses.
Yes. So Fire Emblem Three Houses is the very first Fire Emblem game I played. It was my introduction to Fire Emblem. I knew nothing about the franchise before this game came out. I had a Switch, which I bought for actually because I was told Digimon Survive would come out on it. It still hasn't come out. But I wanted to get into the Digimon games, and I was like, all right, I heard it's coming out here, and because of Smash and Pokemon Let's Go. And two of my coworkers had Fire Emblem, and they're like, Farheen, you need to play this. It's, as one of them called it, it's Pokemon meets Harry Potter. I think that's what he described it as, because you collect kids and you're a teacher at Hogwarts. And I was like, what? So I looked into it and I was like, okay, this looks interesting. I'm really confused. And then they kept talking about it because they both were Blue Lions. They were both in blue or playing as Blue Lions. The Blue Lions are up. So they were talking about, oh hey, I got this piece. Have you talked to this person? And I was like, what is going on? So for my birthday, I bought the game because I am like really stressed about spending money on myself on fun things for sometimes. I don't know. So I bought it for myself for my birthday and I was hooked because I'm usually really slow with video games, but I think I finished this in record time for me, which was still a few months, but I finished my route in a few months and I was very proud of myself. But once I got the mechanics of the game, I was hooked. It's a very fun game.
What was the draw for you with this game, especially with it being your first Fire Emblem? Like, what was that hook for you?
I don't think there was a specific hook. I liked the art in the game. I've always been an explorer when it comes to video games. So you put me in a map, I will explore every inch of that map. And I really enjoyed exploring Garrick Bog to the point where I would see the halls when I closed my eyes because I'd be wandering around long after my professor points ran out, trying to like make sure I got every lost item to all the characters or didn't miss a dropped item or a chance for experience or whatever. But the art is just it's just really pretty to look at. You know, you can stand at the edge and look down at the valley or whatever. And I did enjoy the quote unquote collecting aspect of trying to get all the different kids that you possibly can into your house so that you don't have to kill them later. Um, but it was good. The story was also really fun, and a lot of what was fun was that my two coworkers picked Blue Lions, but I went with Black Eagles, and specifically Edelgard's route, which is to them the bad guy route. To me, they're the bad guys. We had a lot of arguments at work. Like we I hope my boss doesn't hear this, but we probably like shouldn't we have like we should have stayed late those days. So yeah, it was also a lot of fun. So like during game and after game, so that I had people to talk to about it. Multiple.
Now, why did you go with the house that you chose? Because I've heard so many different things about each of the houses from people that I've watched playing it or people that have talked to me about the Fire Emblem series. They're like, "Oh yeah." Like somebody told me a couple of days ago, they're like, "Yeah, you need to go with what is it, the Golden Deer?" I think they're like, "Yeah, you should play that one." And I'm like,
that one's also
"Okay."
I played that one as my second playthrough. That one's also fun. There were a couple things. One of them was she's the only girl, and I was like, you know what, she deserves some support. Another one was there's a cut scene in the beginning, and you protect her. Your character protects her, and I was like, okay, she's important. And then I think you talk to all the kids before all of the people in the house before you pick one, and I just picked that one on like I liked that one character. I don't remember her name, but she has purple hair or maybe orange hair. I don't know. And then just went with it. But combination of the house leader being a girl and I thought there was something going on with her story. There was, and then just the character design.
Okay. I know that like you said that you can try and get like the students into your house and that plays like an important role later down the line in the story. And it's really fascinating just to watch people play and see how they do their different playthroughs. Have you done all of the houses at this point or are you still playing it?
I've only done 2 of the routes so far, so there are technically 4. The Black Eagles has 2 routes. So I just finished the second route, and then there's an expansion that came out that's kind of a side story. I did the 2 routes, and then I did the expansion.
Okay.
Yeah, so my next playthrough, I'm debating on. I picked Black Eagles. I started it like this week, I think. I haven't decided yet which of the 2 routes in Black Eagles. Like, do I want to do the first one I did again because I know what I'm doing this time, or do I want to go the other route in Black Eagles because I want to know that side of the story? I still have some time to decide. I think Black Eagles is for my third route.
Is there a lot of change between the stories? Like if you pick like the Blue Lions or the Golden Deer or the Black Eagles, like is it enough like replayability where it's like I've got to watch this to see what happens?
Somewhat. I think if you avoid all the internet spoilers and don't talk to anyone, yes. But so like I said, I was talking with my two coworkers about the game while we were both in different routes, or all two different routes between the three of us. And you learn different things in different routes. And there are also some things that they mention but are really easy to miss. So yeah, there's a bit of a difference. If you choose different routes, the different characters do different things. Like if you choose to not go with Edelgard, she's a lot more violent. She's a bloodthirsty tyrant. If you go with her, she's just not. But she is a very controversial character. I still love her.
Now, is Edelgard your favorite character in the game?
Yes and no. She's one of my favorite characters just because I like how driven she is, and she's just fun, and sometimes she does cute things, and it's great. It's so hard to pick because all of them are so different. And I would go with, she's one of my favorites, followed close, like very very closely by Claude because he's funny. I like Claude. Yeah, and then all the rest, they're right there. Like I don't know, I could find something to love about all of them except Leonie. I don't know why, I just don't like her.
Oh, you don't like one character out of like the 60 bajillion that are in Fire Emblem.
Yeah, like even there's this one character that a lot of people seem to hate, Cyril. He's someone who works at the monastery and is very devoted to the church and everything. I didn't recruit him, so I don't know much about him. And for some reason, a lot of people seem to dislike him or hate him straight up. Don't know why, because I don't know his story. But even him, I'm like, okay, he's fine. I don't know. I just don't like Leonie. I played her house and everything, just don't like her.
What's the gameplay time for you as far as like just and you know, rough estimate, how long did it take you in hours to do a run through of the game?
The first time I played, so the game gives you a running count as you play, as you save every time. So I think it took me like 75, 80 hours in my first route. And part of that is because the Black Eagles Edelgard route is the shortest compared to the other ones. Which made me sad. I was like, you could have added more story. I would have been fine with that. The other one, but I think it took me longer than if I played it now because I was still trying to learn the game. There was a lot of me like pausing and clicking through all of my options. Like, should I use a sword? Wait, what if I used a bow here? Oh, okay, no, wait, axe is best against this guy. But then after I got the hang of the game, and then my other playthroughs, I was like, oh yeah, it's fine. You know, I know I can just use a bow here. Go. So yeah.
Okay. With a lot of like strategy RPGs and the like of this kind of nature of video games, is there a lot of grinding? Like, do you have to grind characters like to level them up and get them XP, or is it more like here's the story and your job is to make sure that you have the best equipment and the best strategy?
I think it depends on how you play. So if you recruit a bunch of characters in the beginning and you want to level up all of them, then yes, you will have to grind a bunch because there's only so much experience. You can only take a certain number of students into each battle. And then if you have more students, that experience gets divided up. If you want to just go for the battle aspect and you don't care if you kill the other kids later when you're grown up, then you can just stick with your core team and you'll level up as quick as you need. The other thing is if you play it on New Game Plus, there's no problem with the experience in New Game Plus.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can just teach them quicker and have more opportunities to get experience.
Okay. Cool. One of the things that I do when I invite guests to come on the podcast is I send out a little survey of like, hey, what are you into, and characters, and one of the sections that I do is like, what would you recommend? And there are three different titles that you recommended that caught my attention because I'd never heard of them before, and I'd love if we could spend just a little bit of time talking about why you would recommend these different titles to people that might be listening and get interested in them. The first one is Negame no Susume, and I think there, and then you had / recovery of an MMO junkie.
Yeah, so it's the Japanese title is Netgame no Susume, and they translated it to English as Recovery of an MMO Junkie. It's a fun little anime. It's not that many episodes. I really liked it because it was one of the first ones I saw that were kind of geared towards working adults. Usually it's like, oh, the anime that I've usually seen with adults, it's like, oh, it's mafia characters, or it's FBI characters, or they're a bunch of mecha pilots, or it's a fantasy setting. But this was one of the first ones I saw that was geared towards like present day working adults, and it's a show about this woman who is really stressed at work, quits her job, and decides to become to live at home. I'm surprised at her savings, but Japan's a different world in anime. So she just lives at home, and all she does all day is play games. And then throughout the show, you find out that she lost a bunch of relationships because of work. And in the game that she's playing, so the show flips between her real life, what happened in her work, and her life to make her quit her work, and the game world where she's friends with this person. And then the person that she's friends with online turns out to be the friend that she had a long time ago in the game that is now canceled, and they used to be best friends, and now it turns out that he's the guy that she's like her coworker's friend or something that she's seeing. And this a whole little show about her learning to balance between living her online life, her real life, and it was just nice to see something a little bit more serious than like Agretsuko. Yeah, it's kind of in that vein, and it was just fun and cute.
Okay, where if I wanted to go see this, where should I check for it?
When I saw it was on Crunchyroll, I think it's still there.
Okay. So on top of the Netgame no Susume, another of the shows that you've recommended is Hakata Tonkatsu Ramens.
Yes. Okay. This is like I mentioned with Netgame no Susume, a lot of anime aimed at adults is just like random violent or something like that, and so it's, even though there's not a lot of substance to it, it's just violent or whatever, so they rated for adults. This is one of those shows. It's really random. It's a really odd mix of mafia stories and baseball, and there's a detective, and there are Chinese triads and Yakuza showing up, and it's just a whole thing. And there's not really much of a plot other than hey, there are these different turfs, and they kind of try to go for a plot where they're trying to find out what happened to one of the characters, I think sisters. It's been a while since I've seen this, but it was fun to watch. It's like one of those, oh hey, I've got some time, let me just watch something. It does get violent once or a couple times, so if listeners out there not into violence, don't watch it. But there are also I think the there are like some light Yagami level hijinks going on where um, there's a bunch of characters surrounded by rival gang members, and then they're like, oh, but wait, I secretly set up a person at the other end of the hallway, and they're gonna show up and bail me out of here. And oh, by the way, I don't know when this happened, but we also like um, triggered your whole building with bombs, and haha, now we win. But it's a lot of random stuff, but it's also fun. And at the end of like most episodes, they somehow end up like all of the main cast of characters are playing baseball together. So um, it's interesting.
I noticed that in your description, you're like, one of the hitmen is a cross dresser.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yes, main
There's
character.
crazy stuff. They all play baseball together. I'm like, what? They all play baseball together.
Yeah, the one of the two main characters is one of them is the cross-dressing mafia member who's, I don't know, he was like stolen as a child and then forced into a gang, but now he's an assassin. And the other main character is a detective who saved him from being stuck between two like gang fights where his gang had him, like they double crossed him and now he's with them. And I don't know what was going on there. It's been a while. But there's this, at the end of the episode, they're like, okay, hey, let's play baseball. It's a rant.
That is crazy. And you said it's only in your notes. You said it's only a random 1-season show.
Yeah. Yeah. One of those things where you're like, just have some time. I'm gonna knock this out.
Yeah, I've totally been there with those 1-season shows where I'm like, you know what? It's 1 season. That's like what, a couple hours out of my life, depending on how long those episodes are. It's let me just throw it on for some background noise and watch it.
Yeah. You will understand even less if you just watch it as a background, but it's fun. I liked it. One of the things they do is take you around to what I assume are actual places in Japan. So if you wanted to get some of that, the anime version of things.
Mm-hmm. That's always something I dig in anime, is them including like real life locations, like whether it's in Tokyo or Osaka or Kyoto or even in like Okinawa, like for the beach episodes that a number of anime always have.
Yes. The mandatory beach episode. I think this show had a mandatory beach episode too, but I can't remember. It might have been a pool episode. I'm
Okay.
not sure. Yeah. So yeah, a bunch of like 20-something dudes. I don't remember how it went, but
Now the last thing that you recommended on your recommendations was something called Satoko and Nada.
yes. Okay. So this, I don't know if it's like an official like manga from Japan. I think it's written by, I want to say America, and now I want to just go to my shelf and pull it out. But it's a manga style series, like a series of 4-panel comics almost, that are about a girl from Japan and a girl from Saudi Arabia who are both foreign exchange students in, I think, New York. And it's like slice of life, modern day, almost, I don't want to say basic art because at times it's pretty detailed, but it's simple to follow. And the reason I liked it was because as a hijabi, I never see hijab wearing Muslim characters in anime, manga, or anything like that. So when I saw this volume 1 of this in the manga section at my bookstore, I did a very like comical double take in the store, like very much straight out of TV. I was like, wait, what? And it's very cute. It's very small, but I definitely recommend it for a little bit of a different perspective than what you normally get in manga, and it's pretty accurate for what I read. So it was really nice.
I was going to ask like how you came across it, but you answered that question because you're in a bookstore just trolling the manga section. It's like, there it is.
Yep.
Surprise.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just like, what is this? Wait a minute. I know what's going on here.
That's awesome. I looked it up and it looks like it's got a couple different volumes, which
Yes.
is really cool. And somebody even reviewed it and says that it's good comics for kids.
Yeah, so it's family friendly. It's like appropriate for all ages, but it's also got some really good information in it. I think a lot of people just, different culture things that you don't typically see in anime, manga, that kind of media. And I'm like, okay, because in like most anime, manga, when they do like um, they're not set in Japan and they're not set in space and they're not set in historical times. It's or fantasy land. It's like Europe or
Hmm.
yeah, there's a lot with like stuff that takes place in London, stuff that takes place in France, stuff that takes place in New York, and um, you don't normally get another perspective. So it was nice to see.
That is nice to see. It's something where I'm glad that the like creators are expanding out from the stereotypical, like what you said, the if it's not Japan, it's in one of those like European settings, or you have a character who is not Japanese, but they're not something really distinctive. They're like, oh, they're half Japanese and half German, but they still look Japanese. And it's something where it's like, it's great to have like that diversity in comics, because if you look around, there is a lot of diversity out there, and I love when things like shows, movies, books like actually represent like real life rather than like this weird like almost like fantasy of just the one. I don't know, like the one. I
Like
don't
a
know.
fantasy version of real life.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This show for sure. This manga series for sure, or comic series. I don't know what it falls under exactly. It was in the manga section, so I'm calling it a manga. But yeah, it was nice. Just like, yeah, get this out there.
On top of all of these fandoms, the way that I found you is somehow I have no clue, and I always joke now that I really wish I would take notes on whenever I follow somebody on Instagram or on Twitter, so that way I'm like, I followed this person because of insert thing here. But at some point on Instagram, I was shown your account, whether it was on somebody's story or it was suggested. And I really dug what you did with cosplay. And I love the work that you do, which
Yeah.
is how I was like, oh, I need to invite you on. How did you first start getting into cosplay?
So first of all, thank you. It's really nice. I got into cosplay because 3 years ago now, 2018, my sister and I realized that, hey, we're adults, we have money, we can actually go to anime conventions. It's something I always wanted to do, but either I didn't have the time or didn't know about them because I didn't know to look it up, or I didn't have money or I didn't have the means to get there. Something always happened. And then I just forgot. But then we're like, hey, we can go. And my sister, who's also super into like anime and fandoms with me, we're like, let's go. So we made plans to go to Katsucon because it was nearby. And we're like, hey, since we're going, we can do cosplay. And we'd never done cosplay. Well, I had never done cosplay before. I don't know if she dabbled in it in her own time or not. Um, and then I picked the one female character that I knew that I was like, it's like super generic, and um, it was Riza Hawkeye from Full Metal Alchemist, because Full Metal Alchemist is another one of those anime that on and off throughout since I learned about it, I've always loved. And Reese was one of my favorite characters from that show. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. So I bought the cosplay, and it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever done. Was how I did her hair, or how I did my scarf as her hair. I think it fell apart like every other hour. um, but learned since then, and I had such a good time that I was like, I got to do this again, and then kind of like moved on up from there.
That is something, because I'm scrolling through your photos of from when you started your Instagram back in 2019 to now, and I just see like you see the improvement, you see the work that you've done, whether it's like in the outfits or your props, and it's super cool just to scroll through and see them.
Yeah, there's 100% of progression there, and I think one of the things I think that helped was that um, I watched a bunch of videos of like hijabi cosplayers from there's a bunch of them around the world, obviously, but there's just a bunch of them that post tutorials on how to do hijab cosplay,
Mm-hmm.
and they're fun to watch because it's just like, how do you go from this piece of cloth to make it look like Miku Hatsune's hair? Just fun to watch, and yeah, it helped me figure out what I was doing, and it's a lot of fun.
How is it being in the cosplay community as a hijabi cosplayer? Because obviously it's not something that you see every day, in like whether it's in cosplay on Instagram or as a cosplayer at a con.
For the most part, it's it's pretty like so sometimes it feels like I just missed the character entirely because I think the hair just makes it's not there, so it looks weird. But usually it works out fine. Reception wise, it's usually awesome because most people like they'll see me or my sister who's with me, and then they'll do like a okay, and then you'll see them do a double take as they recognize what it's supposed to be, and then you'll either see their face light up and they'll go, oh my gosh, and it's really great. um, um, the one thing that we always get, and it's really funny because it's almost a word for word every single time somebody will say, I love how you incorporated your scarf into your cosplay, and they always use the word incorporate, to the point where it's kind of become a meme between me and my sister. Like, how often are we going to hear the word incorporate today? It really is. And I'm not saying I'm not trying to like ding on people who say that. Like, I appreciate that they appreciate it, but it's funny because everybody uses the same word.
That is something. It's something where like even when I'm thinking back, because I've had a few other hijabi cosplayers on the podcast, and it's definitely interesting to hear the take of how to best effectively use the hijab in the cosplay. Which the first word that comes to mind is incorporate, but it's more than that, and it's very much a subject of like, and I wish I've personally, like in my conventions here in Florida, I haven't seen any hijabi cosplayers, but I have seen enough photos, whether it's from your account or from a number of other hijab cosplayers, where I just find it really fascinating, whether it's like the choices that you make to like drape it or to do like the how it's like laid out or and again, I come back to that dang word now that it's in my head of incorporate.
It really is. How do I incorporate this? It's funny. I mean, I like it. It's funny. The word incorporate, but I think it comes down to a little bit of practice, and it really depends on the character and their hair. So longer haired characters are easier to do because there's less pinning involved, and you can just drape it. Um, but I always hate myself and do the short haired characters. Yeah, like me trying to figure out how to do. So one of the characters I've done is Hikari Kari from Digimon Try, and I could not figure out her scarf at all. Another character I what is it? Another character I did was I attempted to do Yamomo from My Hero Academia, and I could not figure out. It was also Sunday of a convention, so I was already tired. I could not figure out how to do the scarf for her, so I just like wore it as normal, and it feels less fun when you're not fully in that outfit, but it worked out.
Are there any characters that are on your list where you're like, okay, I'm going to do these characters and I'm going to make it work?
I have one character that I really want to do, but to make the whole cosplay happen and be hijab friendly is going to be a lot of work and time, and I don't know when I'll have enough of the time and resources to do it. And that character is Albedo from the Overlord series. So already her whole outfit is like a lot to put together. Like she's got wings, she's got accessories, she's got all of that going on, and then to make that whole hijab layer is going to be a bit much. But I really, really have wanted to do Albedo ever since I watched Overlord, I think 2 years ago now.
What's been your favorite either cosplay or like cosplay experience since you got started?
It is a tie for me between War Nurse Kurumi from Magic Girl Spec Ops and Violet from Fire Emblem, both of which I did most recently. Kurumi because that is the only cosplay I've made 100% by myself, other than buying the basic dress that I cut and sewed over and stuff. I made all of that myself, including the prop, and I'm very proud of that prop. I've been actually making updates to it. So yeah, just having made the whole thing by myself and getting to wear it and go off to the con, that was a lot of fun. And then the other one was Violet because I wore it to Katsu this past February, which was the first convention I'd been to, the first KatsuCon after the game came out. So everybody there was in Fire Emblem. It was really fun to just be part of that really big community, and every 5 minutes someone's like Professor, and that's fun.
The sword is for Byleth, because I'm looking at it right now. That sword is really awesome.
Yes, one of my coworkers 3D printed it for me. Very, very nice of him. And I had a lot of fun swinging that around. I mean, I'll still break it out. I'll still break it out and swing it around.
Oh my goodness, it's so good. As generally every time I talk with a cosplayer, I always love to ask, like, what's on your list? What's on your list
Hold
of
on.
I want to do X, Y, and Z cosplays in the next, year or next year? Like what's on your list of characters?
So the very next one coming up is Toru from Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, and it is. I already have the cosplay. I'm just waiting on the scarf to get here from Amazon, and my sister has the other half of it at home. And so Toru from Kobayashi's Dragon Maid because my sister cosplays Kana, and we've been trying to do like a sibling cosplay for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next one, I don't have one immediately after that. I really do want to start working on Albedo, but we'll see. And I really want to do a Digimon because everything in my fandom life comes back to Digimon, I swear. I really want to. I've done Kari, but I want to do a Digimon. I just haven't picked out which one yet.
Okay, like an actual monster?
Yep. There's a lot to pick from, but there are the monster ones, which would be fun but a lot of work, and then the humanoid ones are just like those clothes would not stay on a human being. Like I don't know how this is working. Ribbons don't work like this. You can't see through that helmet. That doesn't make sense.
Oh my goodness. Yes, yes, there are many characters, especially as like a comic book reader. I'm like, I don't understand the physics of the clothing choices.
No, there's no physics involved. It's all magic.
Oh my goodness. What is it like getting to cosplay with your sister?
It's as most things are with siblings, it's both enjoyable and very frustrating. So we've got the very classic, wake up, you're going to make us late. You're taking up too much time in the bathroom, all of that. All right, fine, let me iron this for you. And then there's the fun part, which is like, hey, can you do my makeup? Or can you help me pin this? Can you put my bow on for me? It's pretty fun. And then actually at the convention, it's, fun to go with people. It's a lot more fun when, because there have been times when I'm like by myself or she's by herself, and it's more fun when you're together.
Yeah, that is the one thing that I've realized between going to conventions like by myself or with, usually my wife would come with me. It's better to have somebody to like talk to and like bounce stuff off of, like, and we don't even cosplay, we just go to like hang out and take a look at like Artist Alley for the most part. But it's nice to have a companion there to like sit with and talk to, and hey, look at that. And
there's that, and then there's also stop me from buying any more things. I spent too much here already. I have to pay for this. I have to pay for gas. And then there's also being able to take pictures of each other, or there's this really fun photo shoot. I think I might have pictures of this on my Instagram, but she was doing a Love Live cosplay while I was doing my Byless cosplay. So we had a photographer taking pictures of us, and I did mine, she did hers, and then she's like, why don't we do some of you guys together? And that came out really fun because they're two completely unrelated fandoms, but you can see there's a picture of me with pom-poms, and you've got cute little Kotori holding a sword. Stuff like that's also fun.
I did see that picture. I found that very very amusing.
It's one of my favorite pictures that we took that Katsu.
For people who have listened to this episode and they want to check out what you do online, and to like check out your work and check out your pictures and whatnot, what are the best places to do so on the internet?
You can find me at Instagram at Azamcos, AZAMCOS. And I also have a Twitter that I barely use, but I'm trying to use more, which is Azamcos1. So AZAMCOS1.
Awesome. And I will have the links to the Instagram and the Twitter on the show notes, as well as the Facebook page and website. So if you're listening, you can easily click and check out Farheen's wonderful cosplays and give her a follow. And maybe give her a follow on Twitter, so that way when she posts on there, she can be like, I have people that are seeing my tweets.
Yeah, more than just like the one person who follows me, which is probably you.
I did throw down that follow this just now. So
saw
let's
that.
see here. Yes, I am follower number 1. I take pride in that.
Yeah, that's how new it is. Like how little I've used it yet, but it's there. Give me some reason to use it.
There you go. Well, Farheen, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to come and talk with me about fandoms. I'm very excited. I think I might have to track down some Digimon and take a look at that. And if not that, definitely one of the animes I will be checking out, because I need some variety in my life, and I think that's one of the things that's missing is some good anime.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed being here. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/talesfromthefandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.